But yeah, it's pronunciation is difficult. My youngest had a exam congratulations card arrived today.
How did she get on?
She got on okay. She got results through what she needed. In fact, the maths was better than she thought it might be. Maths turned out to be the best grade she has the entire lot, which she's happy about, but it's like, but it's not my favourite subject.
Yeah, that's what they all get, isn't it?
So but it's like, but it's the one I taught you the most. Yeah.
She's gone on to sixth form, hasn't she?
She's going on to sixth form. Yeah, got a place signed up. I already had a place, so that's fine. She's going on to do something. She's not doing maths. Yeah.
How did you get on? Because obviously, I know that you home ed, and how did you get on? Because obviously, she had to take IGCSEs.
No, because you don't. So we took the approach.
You have to take IGCSEs.
Nah, you don't have to. It's really, really common in the home ed community, but it's not a you must. There are.
I know it's not a must, but it was obviously with our 16-year-old. It was sort of like they kind of led us that way and said, right, sort of if you want to do them, then it's IGCSE only. No, you don't take a normal GCSE.
No, that's not true. It's not true. There's quite a lot of I wouldn't say necessarily misinformation. I mean, my wife and I are both teachers, so we kind of we know the inside outs of kind of the exam structures and things. Well, as much as anyone that's not an exams officer. Yeah. We took the approach of splitting. So neither of our two took all their exams in one go, like the majority of young people.
Yeah, no, ours didn't either.
Yeah, because and that way you can concentrate on something. You're not overloaded with subjects. You can concentrate on something, do it quite a bit of without putting too much pressure on, do the exams, whatever. So I'm trying to remember what the grades we had. So my eldest did more GCSEs. She was quite keen. She's very academic, very, very driven to sort of learn and to do academic subjects. And like youngest isn't like that at all. Only interested in doing what is needed to be done that's necessary. So like English literature, started it, decided after a while, really didn't like this. And I was like, you know what? I don't blame you, because all these books, because I've read quite a lot of the books, and we kind of let's read the books to find out which ones you're going to want to do, because there's a book and a play and a Shakespeare's, and read all the Shakespeare's, read all the books. I was like, apart from the Sherlock Holmes Sign of Fall, apart from that one, which my youngest really enjoyed that, because she really enjoys kind of crime. She'll like crime TV, particularly like the kind of Grantchester and Father Brown, because she likes the vintage era. So she really likes kind of the vintage clothing, vintage design. She likes all that kind of sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So very much kind of let's. I enjoy reading that. All the rest, no, we don't. So we're like, you know what? I'm not going to force you to do English literature, because it's not important. But you must do English language, and you must do maths, and you must do at least one science.
James, is your smile? Sorry, I was reading the comments there. You're allowed to smile.
So we did. So the English literature got 6 in that, which for those people who are not familiar with the new GCSE, obviously if you're Spain, but for those in the UK who don't know what the new numbering system, about 6 years ago, letter grades at GCSE got removed. So instead of A star
now, though,
with IGCSE, I think. Yeah,
Alex was offered either letters or numbers. But with the IGCSE, the local college is actually and ahhing as to whether they'll take them or not.
Really?
Yeah, that's why I was asking you. Yeah, so he's done his maths and his English. He's done a speciality BTEC, and he's done a BTEC level 3 in computer science, which is what he chooses to do. And he went to the college to sign up, and they've sort of said, we're not sure whether they're going to take these IGCSEs now, because there's something to do with Brexit. I was like, what's Brexit got to do with an IGCSE?
Nothing to do with it. Yeah.
No.
They're delivered by presumably it was Edexcel or Cambridge. So
it was Cambridge.
Yeah, so it's a British board. The only difference from the GCSEs, there's some slight differences in the content because they don't have to fulfil the British national curriculum.
No,
but they're so close. It's it's just that there are odd things missing. It's not it's major things missing. It's just there are odd little differences.
Yeah, so I mean, we did Cambridge with him, so we could take them wherever he was. Because, I know that Cambridge is the board that you use if you want, that you can take most places in the world. But
that's really odd.
The thing that confuses me is because I'm up in Scotland, we did standard grades rather than GCSEs.
Yeah.
And when we did standard grades, it was numbers, but 1 was the highest you could get and 7 was a fail. So I'm now seeing people posting these numbered things that they got for their GCSEs.
It's the opposite way around.
That's the other way around.
Oh, that's not very good. And then having to go, I know, no, it is. It's fine. They've done good. Because, a 1 was what you aimed for. So...
well, the top is 9 now. So in 2015 to 2017, the sort of exams changed in England and Wales to bring in numbers instead of letters. So it used to be kind of A star to G and then a U if you didn't kind of pass at all to get anything. With C being classified as a pass. Then they changed it mostly because there were too many people getting A stars. That was one of the major reasons for the change. So they wanted more discrimination at the top end. So a 7, it's not an exact science, and it took a couple of years before actually even schools were getting the information from the government. A 6 is a B, a 7 is an A, an 8 is an A star, but a 9 is a top A star. And the 9s are limited to 4.5% to 5% of the cohort. So it's very much there's a numerical cap on how many you can have. And then 4s and 5s were both passes. And initially it was kind of 4 is a low pass and 5 is a high pass. And they're kind of changing that now to kind of try and make the high pass the kind of only pass. But it's like... they're both sort of C's.
It'll change again in a few years' time. So
exactly.
Change it every few years. So I didn't even do GCSEs. I didn't do anything.
I didn't do GCSEs either.
No.
Yeah. No. O levels.
No. Well. No, I didn't do. I didn't go to school.
Cool. So is that why you've homeschooled?
Sort of. We kind of recognised that one of ours was struggling at school, so we kind of went, okay, we'll pull him and sort of homeschool him, and he's done so much better, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And the others just followed. What's the point in messing around doing the school run when you've got one at home and the other, when you've only got one at school or whatever, as it was at the time? I'm not messing with that. We'll just pull him out as well.
Yeah.
So. But so it was sort of like...
So now Kez has got 4 of them.
Yeah. Homeschool 4. But I was kind of on the unschool side of things. So obviously, I know that but not everybody knows. There are several different ways that you can homeschool. And I was on the unschool side. So I was kind of just left to my own devices. And I learned along the way of doing whatever I wanted to do. I just learned how to do. So everything I know is kind of self-taught, really.
Cool.
So,
So for the folks who don't know, there's the unschooled, which is the kind of as you say, kind of just okay. I'm interested in that. I'm going to go and learn that. I'm going to try. I'm interested in that. I want to learn about this. And you often find people that's often some folks when they do that will go quite broad and will cover so many different things, and they'll maybe like go project wise and they'll kind of dive into things. Whereas you find sometimes the folk get children particularly hyperfixate on perhaps one thing. Sometimes that's associated with kind of ASD type things where kind of it's actually easier for the young person to kind of focus on just one thing and they're not interested in other things. And which can present difficulties, but it often produces somebody who's very, very focused on one thing and very, very talented at one thing.
Yes, that is why we had to pull our oldest one out. Well, not the oldest, second oldest one out originally, because he was struggling with the social aspect of Asperger's. So he's sort of like, he was struggling to do a lot of things. So I was like, well, we could do it at home. Let's do it at home. You know, I was I've done semi-structured. So we kind of have weeks where we just kind of like we can just wander around the woods and we can do and learn that way. And then we have weeks where we're just, sat in front of books and we're reading and doing stuff like that. So, but mine was just kind of like just go do what you want, just stay out my way, basically. But yeah, as long as you don't hurt anybody, that's it. Job done.
But that'll teach you skills that, like, I never got in school, like the ability to actually decide what I was going to do and go and do it. Like,
I don't know. I've got ADHD. I've got a 5-second memory.
But I mean, for me, I was in a very strict school, and it was prescribed from the minute I arrived to the minute I left what I was doing, in what way, and everything.
Yeah.
And actually, what I then took into life was, if nobody's telling me what to do, what do I do? And actually, it took me a while to get the ability to self-start.
Yeah.
And I guess homeschool, if it's semi-structured or whatever, will give you more of that, probably.
Yeah, it just kind of it enables the kids to think for themselves as well. I've got this time. This is my playtime, free time, whatever you want. We have between sort of like after lunch up until about 2:30, and they kind of go, "This is your free time. Do what you like." And I've got one. We've been building Warhammer models today. We've got another one that wants to get paints out and do something else, and then you've got one that wants to sort of like play in water trays, because he's only 5. So he wants to play water trays with water beads and stuff like that, and pour water everywhere in the garden. It's like, free time. You do what you like.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
But,
we took a fairly sort of semi-structured approach. I mean, both parents are teachers. It was inevitable there was going to be an element of kind of structure to it. My wife predominantly did the sort of primary and early secondary.
Sorry, I love Jamie's comment.
And it's we found it, we took kind of approaches that were kind of right. Okay, we're going to spend a lot of time looking at nature, for example. But particularly they're much younger. We live in the countryside, we're a village, but it's
we do too.
Countryside within a few minutes walk, and so there's a lot of opportunities. We've got a big garden, lots of opportunities. But, also looking at kind of the arts behind it, the literature behind it, the poetry, sort of the TV, the art, drawing.
I don't know about poetry. Definitely not in this house.
My wife was very keen that they kind of get exposure to as many different forms of culture as possible.
Well, I would try that, but they kind of go, nope. So it's like, I'm not bothering that then.
Well, we gave them the exposure, and things they've kind of some things they've carried on, some things they haven't. We kind of up to a certain age they were told, right, you are going to learn to swim.
That's
because we think it's a life skill. You're not. We took they had lessons for that because we didn't feel able to kind of teach them how to swim. But much better to kind of pay somebody to do that.
I taught the first 2 how to swim, but not the last 3. The last 3 are no, definitely not. But
we then kind of and things like right, okay, you're going to learn to play the piano and you're going to practice every day. And it got to a certain age and like, right, okay, you now know how to play piano. If you want to play from now on, you can, but we're not going to force you, to play. Up to a certain point, we said, right, you're going to learn how to read music. You're going to learn how to play piano. They both did ukulele as well, and one did a guitar. And it's like, okay, it's a life skill that they've got. Now, they didn't do enough. They didn't have that kind of, you're really good at piano or whatever. You're going to be the next concert pianist who's going to wow the world. They didn't have that talent or the desire to be like that.
No.
So it's like, okay, you're going to learn. You're going to do a certain amount of practice every day, but that's it. And a lot of things, much more flexible, particularly when it came to the exams. Saying, okay, right, you don't want to do English literature. You know what? You don't need English literature. Yeah, you are well read. They're both vivacious readers. So it's like you read well. You're both able to read well above your kind of age, your biological age.
Yeah.
So you don't English literature? No, I'm not going to force you to study Macbeth and
Mice and Men. Oh my gosh!
Or some of the Inspector Calls is horrible. But this is it. Some of those books are absolutely rotten. And I tried reading some of the I can't remember what they were now. The books they had to read. There was one about cloning. And it was literally about it's following this person. I got about a third of the way in. I couldn't finish it, and it was just like it was horrible. And it's not; they're not well written. Some of these things are not well written. But I'm sure that any English literature teacher is going to go, "Oh, they're very well." It's like, well, no. Give me Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I can read that again and again and again. And every time I read it, there's something new, and I've read it 50, 70 times.
But why don't they make books like more interesting? I mean, I know at one point there were and ahhing as to whether to put the Harry Potter books into the sort of the literature, the English literature. How many more kids would enjoy and get so much more benefit out of books like that or similar to that, not necessarily that kind of thing, but it's sort of like it immerses them into a world of imagination. Where are kids' imaginations?
It
really does need to sort of come back, but they didn't.
But the benefit of homeschooling, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
Home education, you can choose not to do it. You can choose to, I mean, I read the Harry Potter books, all of them, to the kids. Did all the voices. It's like when you're not very well, you're right. We've got to do half a chapter, and you're like,
you
forgot the voices.
So my daughter is incredibly specific about who is allowed to read what books. And when we pressed her on this, the answer was, Daddy doesn't do the voices right. So when we get to the voices, I'm currently educating her in the world of Asterix and Obelix. We've done Calvin and Hobbes. Cool. That's kind of my realm. And Emma's there reading her all the Roald Dahl books and the proper books. But I don't do the voices right.
I'm currently going through the famous 5 with the 5 and the 8-year-old. We're currently reading through those. I think we're on about book 5 or 6 at the moment. But they say to him, "You don't read it right." No. There's no voices. You don't read it right. And then Alex, our 16-year-old, he reads really, really well, and he does the voices. But they say they're not the right voices because obviously his voices are different to mine. So. But
this is it. Whoever starts out, they're the right voices.
If
you don't start it out,
it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
So it's your job.
It's always my job to read to them, isn't it? So, but I enjoy reading to them.
Yeah, you get the reading, I get the washing up.
Yep, that's the
one. You see, our household policy is whoever cooks doesn't wash up.
Yep, that's ours. So I cook, he doesn't wash up. He does wash up even.
That sort of works until I cook.
Yeah, but but normally, if you're cooking, it's because I've got a different nasty job to do.
Yeah, I mean, Emma gets the blunt end of it with us because Emma cooks very efficiently. Everything's kind of the minimum number of things possible, whereas I chef, as she puts it. So there's like a knife for every different thing, and there's stacks of chopping boards, and so she ends up with a mountain of washing up, and every time I do it, there's like 2 pans and a chopping board, and that's it. So can't complain.
It's a lot easier on days when it's kind of like, we're having salad with something. It's just like,
we do
okay, that's a lot of stuff to wash up.
That's not chicken salad, isn't it? It's like that's a 20-minute meal done, especially when there's 8 of us.
No, it's the bolognese that's in the freezer from last time we cooked it, which means there's just spaghetti. That's it, done.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's even better. That is, Yeah. So going back to the exam. So we opted for regular GCSEs rather than IGCSEs.
We didn't have a choice. We had to do IGCSEs.
Interesting. Was that determined by the sort of the exam centres you were going to?
Yeah, it was Macclesfield Tutorial College, and when we sort of spoke to them about it, which way to go, they said you can only do IGCSEs.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah, because we did regular. Because there are certain GCSEs that cannot. If you're a private candidate, because home education is classified as
you pay for your own
candidates. Yeah, there are certain exams that you certain subjects for regular GCSEs you cannot do as a private candidate. So, music, design, technology, arts, PE. There's a couple of others as well, but all you can do, all the English, the maths, the science, history, geography. Now, because there's the coursework elements, although there's still kind of things like in science, there's a practical aspect to it. The students are expected to have done. There's an endorsement. Same at A level. There's a kind of endorsement that you've done the practical work. There's no examination on the having done it. It's delivered within the exams, so it doesn't actually matter if you haven't done the experiment, but you know how it works. You can still answer the exams. All that misses out is on the final sort of certificate. There's no tick in the box that says practical endorsement. So if they're not planning to go to kind of a sciencey career, that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So we were lucky in a way. I'd already, before I finished work, I'd already kind of been easing the way at the school I was at with the exams officer, sort of saying, thought it's going to be coming up through in a few years' time. We home educate. Yeah, can we do exams here? And it's like, well, we don't normally do private candidates, but yeah, we can sort something out. Yeah, because I was always a helpful sort, and made life easy as a head of department. I made life easy for the exams officer, and when you do that, you can kind of pull some favours. And then my wife went to work at the same school after I had to give up work. It was like, so we were able to get both through a school that doesn't normally take private candidates. So we were able to just do the same courses that they were doing, but obviously not the ones that are like private candidates. So worked for us, and it is possible.
Do you reckon that after the whole pandemic, everybody ended up doing a certain amount from home and all of that?
No. You see, the thing is that was not homeschool.
No, I'm not saying it was. It was. My question was more. No. My question was more. Do you think there will start to be more things offered online? Where, so in a corporate world, everybody suddenly realized that actually you can have meetings online. We don't all have to go to the office and all of that.
I think
is the same likely to happen with education going forward? Do you reckon?
Well, it has. It has. The number of people now. I mean, I now tutor. Yeah, that's my job now. I'm a tutor. I'm not a home educator anymore. So I'm a professional tutor, and I've got 3 clients. And one I see face to face because they are literally around the corner.
Yeah.
And it's quicker to actually walk around there than to turn the computer on and set it all up with cameras and whatever. And the other 2, I tutor online.
Yeah.
And so there's a huge amount of tutoring online. There are, I mean, one of the courses, the last course that my youngest passed was, it's through an exam board called NCFE, which is the northern. It's one of the northern boards that's still kind of going, because there used to be lots of exam boards. Pretty much every region of the country had its own exam board. There were several in London. There was a Midlands one. There was Wales. Wales still going.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of them, and a lot of them got amalgamated, particularly to form AQA, which is the one that's kind of been on strike and has had quite a few issues with exam papers and things and wrong information. So the NCFE, through various other organisations, will provide a kind of examination and qualification that is recognised by kind of Ofqual and JCQ, which is kind of government quangos that basically say, yes, this is a valid qualification.
Yeah.
So she did a level 2 functional skills ICT course. So it's equivalent to a GCSE. but it's only on a pass or fail. So there's no grades. So if you pass it, it's the equivalent of a C grade. Yeah. And effectively, it was the same as a European computer driving license course. Yeah, as far as I could tell, there was no difference between that and the ECDL. But it's a level 2 qualification. So it's equivalent to a GCSE grade C. Yeah. Or level 5, as it is now. And so there's various organizations around the country that offer those courses for all age groups, not just for young people.
Yeah.
The one we did it through, I mean, it's not cheap, but we wanted to have 6 GCSEs kind of minimum. So to kind of get that 6th one, originally she started doing a design technology course. Right. Again, not one you can normally do as GCSE. There was a company that was doing it, again, qualifying through NCFE. And it was going quite well. She made it was a lot of making. There was, we made a little theatre set, kind of at a phone call that's kind of, had to be kind of a room, and she made various models. She made a model of the Whomping Willow from Harry Potter without all the leaves. It was in winter.
That's pretty cool.
Made a little TARDIS. It was great. She made a chair out of cardboard, a stool. I mean, we've got it in the hall. We use it as a little side table in the hall. Not strong enough, being cardboard. It's not quite strong enough. And design it. I think.
Donna Love Angel, she makes things out of cardboard. It's pretty cool.
It's a great material. It's one of the first things in Adam Savage's book, which is up there somewhere. Adam Savage's book. One of the things it says, actually, it's on that shelf. It's up there somewhere.
It's over there somewhere.
He says, cardboard. It's cheap. It's easy to work with. All you need is a sharp knife and some form of glue, and you can do some amazing things with it. Yeah. I've seen people make actual working furniture out of cardboard. Cool. So sofas you can sit on.
I've always done some kind of cardboard structure and paper mache with the kids. I think I did a crocodile coming out the kitchen floor once.
Yeah.
But that was a few years ago.
So we did this course, and it was going quite well. But there was this. We got to a point where it was a case of, right, you had to do this preparation bit first, which had to be marked, and then it was kind of once that was being marked, you used that information to then plan the next bit, which is going to be quite a big chunk, and there was quite a tight deadline, and we submitted it. I think we were told it was due on, say, the 5th of whatever month, and we submitted it on the 5th. But it's like 17 minutes past 5 on the 5th. And then we had nothing back. We had no reply within, you're supposed to get like a reply within a week or sort of 10 days. We didn't reply. And then I sort of got reached out and said, we haven't had anything back, and we need to know how for this next bit, because this is a really short term. It's one of the short term bits. And I was like, oh, it was submitted late. It was due on the date. Said, but the closing time is 5 o'clock. Well, you didn't tell us that. 17 minutes past. It's just like we got a bit put out by that.
Yeah,
and we were paying for this. It was. I mean, it wasn't stupidly expensive because it was a fairly new course, but it was just like hang on, you can't do that with young people. You got somebody who's put a lot of work into it. And you're saying that because it's 17, it's not university. Universities now, they'll say, look, deadline is 5 o'clock. You've got to submit something by 5 o'clock, and it's going to be time stamped. If you pan it into the office, there literally will be somebody stamping it with a time. But you're going to be mostly submitting it electronically, and we can see what time it's handing. And the deadline is, because it's going to be computer marked, whatever, 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's due on this day. It's like, well, you can do up to midnight then, really. If it's due on the day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and if it's due by 5 o'clock, certainly in the work world, for me, anything that I'm told is due by 5 o'clock is because they want it for 9 o'clock the following morning.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing anything with it at 5 o'clock at night.
Exactly.
Deadlines are always 9 a.m. the day after. If it's close of business, as long as
it's fine with writing reports.
Fine.
We used to have somebody who said, right, there's deadline for writing reports is 4:30. They used to go home at 4. Is it? Well, I know they're not working on it until 9 o'clock the next morning. So I should tell my my team, that as long as it's done by 9 o'clock the next morning, you're not going to get into trouble. But I can't help you if it's not done by 9 o'clock. You are getting into trouble because it's gone beyond. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So we got annoyed with that, and we kind of went, and she got a bit upset by kind of, you know, that lack of thinking about people.
Yeah.
So we're like, no, stuff it. So we ended up going for the ICT instead.
Yeah.
Which took a lot of that pressure off. It was. She found it a doddle because she'd been using computers for a long time anyway. You had to learn some specific things. The hardest thing was working out all the bits with the exam, because you had to have multiple cameras. You had to have like a phone and something else, as well as the laptop, to make sure there was nobody else in the room and you weren't cheating or looking up or anything like that.
Yeah.
It was kind of the anti-plagiarism software had to be installed on everything, and it was really sort of tight. It was quite complex, and the instructions weren't 100% clear.
No.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah. It's
But it's all good. So yeah, if anyone wants the home education, then yeah, reach out to me or to Kez Phil, and I'm sure we can help you in the right direction.
Not me, I just wing it.
No, that's the best thing to hear, because we've talked about it as a potential option, not for primary school, but further down the line, it may be something we look to do to fit in. And what I want to hear is that people are winging it and it's still
Yeah,
fine. That's all the reassurance I need.
What's interesting is that with what came out, one of the things that came out of the pandemic, there were a few things that came out of the pandemic that yes, you could actually deliver, more people could deliver things electronically. And schools could do that. So particularly if you have kids that are away long term because of an injury or an illness. But you could what also came out of it, a significant number of people went, "Oh, my kid's suddenly a lot happier. I wonder if that's because they're not having their head flushed down the toilet every other day."
That's the one.
Maybe we'll keep them home.
To do that by that time.
Yeah.
And I'm not being funny, right? But when you get up in the morning, right, and you sort of like, you go, I don't fancy eggs for breakfast. I fancy a bacon sandwich, or I fancy cereals or fancy toast, but that's not what's in front of you. You go, no, I'm not feeling it today. That's the same with kids. When you go to school and you put them, put like English or maths or whatever that specific time, and they're just not feeling it, they're not going to do it.
We take there's quite a lot of neuroscience now, actual proper neuroscience with research, not just kind of anecdotal stuff that says, actually for teenagers, the higher age sort of teenage, shouldn't be starting school at 8 o'clock, 8 or 8:30, 9 o'clock. No. They should be starting school at maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock.
It's about what Alex does, wasn't it? It was sort of in between 10 and 11. He sort of is
ambles down the stairs, grabs a coffee, and then says, "I'll get started now."
Yeah, and off he goes onto it. But he's done his BTEC, and all his BTEC's been online. So he's just sort of off he goes. Yeah,
it sounds about right. The number of sort of bits of schoolwork that were done in pajamas in our house.
You're lucky if my kids are dressed. They're running around with nothing on. It's chasing around when people are coming. It's like, come here, put your hands on. You just won't put nothing on, will he? Absolutely nothing. And the others are all just like, I've got nothing under this dressing gown, but you can't see it, so it's fine. So, you've got to get dressed if you go to the dentist, though. Or doctors or wherever else they're going. They know they have to get dressed. Or I have to say to them, there's somebody coming tomorrow or whatever. You need to be dressed. It's like,
visitors from the local authority. Yeah. Which we all said, no, you're not coming. But...
Yeah. But say it's just sort of, they're hardly ever dressed. You're running around with boxer shorts trying to put them on. It is what it is. They get the schoolwork done.
For anyone that's thinking about home education, I would say absolutely go for it. You get people sort of saying, "But I can't do it. I'm not a teacher. I haven't got qualifications." It's like, no, you don't need them. No. If you can read and you're prepared to help your children learn, then you can do it. If you're kind of open to trying different things, your kids are going to try different things. There's lots of this.
Though that as their educator, you have learned so much about them on the way, and with the subjects that they've decided to take as well. You learn with them. You know what I mean? Is, you know, and it's actually great for the kids to see that you are learning with them as well as, you know, instead of just going, well, that person knows everything, they're going to tell me it. You know, it's like, well, no, actually, we don't know this. I don't know the answer to your question, but guess what? We've got Google. Let's Google it. You know, and it's kind of it sparks that researcher brain for them, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
Yeah, let's find out. And it's all about the fun of it, isn't it? And you know, quite often they're sat at the table, and one's got an iPad, and one's got the iPad. They've got, I found the answer, you know, and it's like, oh, let's have a look then. You know, and it's just sort of, you know, it just does. It just sparks them, and they're just having great fun, even though, you know, you think schoolwork and they're not supposed to be having fun. They are just having great fun, just sort of. You know, I found it first, and it's like, yeah, but I've got this bit in mind, and you know, let's read it out then.
Having worked across kind of multi phases, I mean, I've taught from kind of year 4, which I think would be the equivalent of grade 3 in the States. I think they're one down compared to us. Up to kind of sort of 6th form. And the majority of my time has been in secondary, which is kind of, you know, 7 to 18 age. But I have worked below that, and it's interesting sort of seeing actually how the pre-secondary school, they're so much more enthusiastic, they're so much more interested in, they get so many more different things. And then they arrive at secondary school, you almost see the kind of learning just pushed out of them as they're kind of forced to join
into peer pressure.
Well, there's the whole kind of peer pressure thing, and then you get also the hormones kick in at kind of years somewhere between kind of sort of 12 and 15, and then there's kind of just the constriction of the curriculum. Yeah, you have to do things.
You've got a lot of time.
Yeah, and it's got time, and
you've got a lot of time to learn that. And then the thing is, if they are into that, and you kind of can't then veer off and learn and find out other things about whatever subject that you've got there, you kind of
schools force you to do languages or English literature, or different schools will have kind of everyone must do history or geography, everyone must do and it's as a teacher something it's heartbreaking to see it. But then as a teacher, you're in the system, you don't create the system as such. You
can't change it.
It comes from on high. I mean, there's some of the stuff that government push out to schools. It's just like, why? What?
It's like you could remove the bit about to schools there, but we'll not go into politics.
Well, I'm talking specifically. You're supposed to know what they're. It's like when you get the physics national curriculum when that was issued in 2013, contained multiple mistakes in the physics. So things like the kinetic energy equation, and kinetic energy is half mv squared. I can't remember the exact mistake now, but it was missing like the half or the squared. It was just completely and utterly, this is not correct science. It's like, and that was like after this wasn't even like the first draft. This was like second or third draft. It's like,
our older two have not really been into the sciences, not really sort of bothered about it, apart from computer science, but sort of the actual sciences, physics and biology and chemistry. They've never really been into it. But then I've got the younger two now that are like, we want science. So at the moment we're learning about forces and motion, and the science behind that. But it's kind of like really weird. I've had the older two that are just like, and then these two that are like, yay, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn something new.
Different people have different people have different.
They do.
I think people do have different talents for things. I think anyone can learn anything, but I think some people can learn things so much quicker and easier. It's like my eldest is a natural linguist. My wife is a linguist. So my eldest clearly got the linguist genes from her and not mine, because I'm not good with languages.
No, me either. But our 12-year-old is, isn't he? And I don't know where he got it from.
So my eldest is I mean, at one point when she was homeschooling, I mean, she still does to a certain extent. I think she had because she was using Duolingo a lot.
Yes, we
10. I think she had 10 different languages on a go.
Wow.
At one point, and it's like, and it was like, there was Russian and French and German naturally. Spanish. I can't remember if Spanish was one, but it was obscure ones. Yeah, it was like yes, there was Welsh. I mean, because there's Welsh heritage.
One of ours was learning Gaelic.
Yep, Irish Gaelic was done for a bit. I think it was Irish Gaelic rather than Scottish Gaelic. Sorry, Neil.
No, Scottish Gaelic that he was doing.
There was Russian. I think there was some. There were several Eastern
Japanese
European languages.
has been a popular one, though, hasn't it, as well? Ooh. Mandarin.
I don't think she did Japanese.
No.
But she might have been doing something like Urdu. Just obscure kind of languages.
Yeah.
I think is.
I have trouble speaking in English. I got one that speaks fluent flipping German. And I'm like, huh? I know some of the words, but not all of it.
I'll give you an idea how our bad it is. We went to the dentist the other day and he greeted the dentist in German.
It was nice though, because she greeted him back in German.
Ah, lovely.
So we're finding that's quite a good thing as well, especially with it being German and a kind of a common language that kids learn at school anyway. But where we're going, he's kind of like talking to people in German. There's been quite a few people talk back to him, and he's kind of like, "Oh, I like this." So, because we're all like, "What?"
So my wife was brought up in Portugal until she was like 15, 16. So she speaks fluent Portuguese.
Yeah.
And she's been teaching Daria a certain amount. And it's got to that embarrassing bit where Daria has overtaken my knowledge. So they can
brilliant.
So they can have mother-daughter chats and I won't be any the wiser. Part of me goes, maybe it's safer that way. Maybe I just don't learn anymore.
Mine was sign language. So I can sign, and I've taught the kids to sign from being babies. So they've always been able to sign. Before they could talk, they could sign. Yeah. Because it was just easier for them to do that. But none of them are interested in that. It's like, the one that I can teach you, I can't. You're not interested in.
But at some point they might. At some point they might come back to it and go, "Oh yeah, we did. Yeah. I remember doing a little bit of sign, and Mum can do it. And I want to do that." Just because you never know who they may meet at some point along the way, and they kind of. I think one of the things I think it's the difference between kind of having an education and getting some qualifications is not necessarily knowing everything. And I think often when people get a qualification, they learn enough for the exam and then they forget it. And they've lost it. Yes. Isn't it? But I think the key thing with kind of an education is where you kind of go, I know there is this thing, and that you can't expose to lots of different ideas, and you can kind of connect things more, and you kind of know, okay, I don't know this, but I know there is this thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's missing from a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear it sometimes on. I mostly listen to maker podcasts. I do listen to a mixture of podcasts, but a lot of maker podcasts. And sometimes I hear people sort of saying things. I mean, often I hear people saying things about science, and I kind of go, no. But like on maker podcasts, sometimes you hear people sort of say they might be maybe a specialist in something. Let's say wood. Yeah, they're predominantly a woodworker. They make furniture, and that's all they do. And you kind of hear them talking about something, and it's clearly they haven't got a clue that this other thing exists. Yeah, they might know that. Yeah, you can do stuff with metal, and there's this thing called a welder. But they're kind of like, you kind of think you're missing a massive connection here.
Yeah,
and you kind of want to sort of shout down the kind of the internet waves and kind of go, "Oi,
you can do this too."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what you've just said is completely, utterly wrong. And not kind of in that trollish way. It's just like, no, it's wrong. It's not like, you can try it and it might work. No, that just doesn't, it doesn't compute.
Yeah.
We should talk about, if you haven't guessed already, we don't tend to do introductions.
We had noticed.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. So I mean, if you like, yeah, but I mean, we're 45 minutes in.
For you.
Great opportunity to do. I have to admit, I made a complete assumption, and of course, if you assume something, it makes an ass out of you and me. And I made a terrible assumption because Spirit and Bear, I had assumed that Kez, you were Spirit, and Phil, because of his size, was Bear. But then, doing my research for the podcast, I kind of perused your website and found it's actually the other way around.
Yep, it is. And the reason for that is because we spoke earlier about the computer shop we used to have. Now, what we used to do was we had a small community within that shop that was online gaming. And we used to all actually play COD 4. So he was Spirit and I was Bear, and they were our online aliases all them years ago playing COD 4. So we used to play COD leagues. So before esports was a thing that it is now, we used to play it way back when for money and stuff. So, and yeah, he was Spirit and I was Bear, and we just followed it. Just kept it going. We've still got people now in real life that we know personally that still call us Spirit and Bear instead of Kez and Phil. But yeah.
But was there a particular reason for picking those names when you were playing COD 4?
No, it was just what I wrote in the thing at the time. It was like, what are you going to call your character? Bear?
I was going to say, Andy, you can't ask people to justify online gamer names. That's not fair. I mean,
I've never played an online game.
No?
The closest I've come to an online game, I don't even know if it's still going. There was this must have been around sort of early 2000s. There was a kind of world thing called Second Life.
Oh, God, yeah.
And you kind of, my avatar, I can't even remember what my avatar was called now. My avatar, if it's still going, my avatar is probably still stuck there. I don't know if they delete them after a certain amount of time. And it's just like,
it's got more hair and less grey.
Yeah, it was put out. I kind of sort of joined it because it was kind of put out. There's some people decided it'd be a really good idea. There's a guy in the Institute of Physics who he was kind of thought, well, right, this is going to be a great place to bring physics teachers where we can do the professional development in this world. We can alter, because you could have little environments where you could alter kind of the physics of the environment. So you could turn gravity off, or you could turn friction off, whatever, and you could do experiments, you could set things up. And it was going to be this great place to kind of do sort of science education for the educators and therefore potentially actually kids. Mm. And it never really came to anything. So I sort of spent about 3 or 4 weeks kind of sort of finding my way around this, sort of building my character avatar up and sort of finding my way around.
Building a character, don't you? Than doing anything.
Yeah, I was just like, I was exploring around. Eventually, I kind of just left it standing in this kind of somewhere. I can't remember where it was now. It was just left standing. It was just like logged off and never logged on again.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's still going. That's the closest I've ever got to online gaming.
No. You see, when we were just playing COD 4, you don't have a choice. You just kind of chucked out with a gun. You just pick your gun and that's it. Off you go. You pick whether you're a sniper or a runner or heavy gunner, whatever you're doing. That's about it. But yeah, we had a full team together. I was actually captain. So, long time ago that was, wasn't it?
Just a bit.
It's like 15 years ago, going maybe a bit more. Yeah, quite a few years ago. But that's where that came from. The blast from the past, isn't it?
There is still a few YouTube videos of us around.
Yeah, there is some. Yeah, there is.
I think there's probably about 15 or 20 YouTube videos up there somewhere.
Well, you have to send us links so we can get everyone to watch them.
No.
Not that exciting.
Challenge for everybody currently in the comments. Go find one.
Go find Spirit and Bear. COD leagues.
See, I remember at uni, we all lived in Hull's residence, but it was just a standard block of flats. So there was three groups of us on the same floor. and running original Xboxes, playing Halo, and running network cables to basically LAN party, but between the flats. So like down the corridor and taping them down over the top of the stairs so we didn't get in trouble. And long cables all the way around the place. And yes.
We used to rent a hall in a little village and do a LAN meet, didn't we?
Yeah, just do a LAN party once a month down there.
Yeah. And that would consisted of like taping down the wires and stuff like that so people don't trip over them. But yeah. It was pretty good.
I'm not going to say anything at this stage. We didn't have anything like that when I was at university. We did have computers.
University.
Yeah, we did have computers, but I think it was like everything was running on Unix, and it was all terminals and kind of there was no PCs. I think my final year somebody actually had a PC with Windows 3 on it.
PC 1.
Yeah, I bought a PC in my third year of university. That was running DOS. Yeah,
I never actually touched a computer, a PC, until I was 18. Never had access to a PC until I was 18, and I was with you, weren't I?
Yeah.
And he was downloading something, and I remember he was like, when the download's finished, can you just X the download out, and get rid of it? I was like, okay, then no problem. So he rings me up partway through the day. As we download done, and I goes upstairs, and I was like, what do I press? He's like, just press the mouse button on there. I was like, okay, I'll press the mouse button on there. I was like, no, it's not quite done. Yeah, and then as I went to move the mouse, I pressed the button, and all it had done is minimized in the tray. But I was like, I've lost it. What have I done to it? I've lost your download. He was in stitches.
All she'd done is minimized it to tray.
I didn't realize that because I'd never used one before. Never used one. I've lost it.
We started out with an Amiga 500 as a family computer. That was good. The entire operating system was just enough to show an animation of a disc going in, and that was all it did. It was just told you to put a disc in because it couldn't do anything before that. Yeah. But yes.
The first time I ever used a Mac, it was my teaching placement when I was training to be a teacher, and they had in the back room of one of the physics labs. They had a Mac, and I was like, I had a project where I was going to be looking at the use of do numerous projects, and I had chosen one looking at using CD-ROM encyclopedias to see if they would help enhance students' education.
Yeah.
And I was just going to compare boys versus girls. So it was like, this new advance, this CD technology. And I put this disc in to look at it and kind of try things out. It's like, there's no button to get the disc out. How do I get the disc out? It's like, I thought I'd broken it. I couldn't get it. I was like, do I wedge this out? I had absolutely no idea that you had to drag the disc on the desktop to the bin. If you did that, it would eject it. I had absolutely no idea that was. Yeah, that seems like totally like if I drag it to the bin, it's going to delete it all. That was my kind of my experience of working with Windows or not Windows machines. Windows 3 and MS DOS type things. The trash bin, you want to stay away from that. But no, it's like drag it to there and ping. It was like I had to get the technician to come and help show me. It was like, you just do that.
Donna's in the chat and she's just saying about the Commodore 64. I did actually have a Commodore 64, but how long did you wait for those tapes to load? They were like forever. And then if your tape had got fingerprints on it and it wouldn't load after you sat there for 20 minutes, you're like, no! It was just terrible. Terrible.
I had the ZX81. If somebody nudged the table while everything was loaded and one of the cables would just shift slightly and it was just like, back to square one. That was
I've got an old BBC Micro in my parents' loft that in fairness, I got when I was a teenager and it was old technology when I got it. So I can't claim to have had this from original or anything. which doesn't work at the minute, but I'm trying to work out how to essentially replace the internals with a Raspberry Pi. But I want to keep the current keyboard. I don't want to be swapping it out. I want that clickety-clack BBC Micro kind of thing. And then Jamie and I were talking the other week about how to do a curved CRT monitor, but not actually CRT but keep that kind of curved front feel.
Yeah.
So
because I mean, you can buy the monitors now, but they're curved inwards instead of domed, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
what I want to do is take like an old chassis and put an LCD in it or something, but with keep that curved front glass. But I'm not quite sure. I'll end up with that sort of double glass, and it might go a bit weird. So I need to work that out. It's a winter project.
Yeah. We used to, when we had the computer shop, we used to run a recycling side. So we used to collect all the big, like the old, and how many schools do we collect like BBC stuff from? There was hundreds and hundreds of schools that we used to collect, the old CRT monitors and stuff like that. We got rid of recycled so many of those.
The cubic, the monitors for the BBCs, the kind of the supply
square,
it was like a perfect cube.
Yeah,
I always wanted one of those. I mean, I had the Electron.
Yeah.
What
were the ones that had this little tiny square TV on it or monitor, and then you got the keyboard literally attached to it? It was like fit underneath, didn't it? What were they?
Now you've lost me.
There was one of the BBCs that had the monitor almost built in. It was kind of a single terminal thing.
Yeah, you just kind of picked.
I can't remember which version it was now.
Yeah.
No, I can't. I mean, there were a few machines that had kind of monitor.
Might have to be a good old Google for that.
Yeah. We'll have to get Dale on. Dale Kirkwood, he knows about old machines. Yeah, being old.
It's got rooms full of them. It's got rooms full of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
We donated one, didn't we, to the museum?
Yeah, we donated one of the BBC Master floating point machines, which are rare.
So we donated that to the Derby Museum for their computers and stuff like that, because it was obviously a museum for computers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a while ago.
It was a bit.
Definitely a while ago.
So computing to making, I mean, were you making at the time when you had the computer shop, or did making come afterwards?
Yeah, we've always made out of necessity. So instead of buying furniture that you put together, we've always made stuff, whatever we've needed, really. It's just necessity.
We've done a bit of all sorts, haven't we? We've done custom motorcycles and all sorts.
Yeah. I've done...
Because, Phil, you're an engineer, aren't you?
Yes.
Sort of, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a specific type of engineer? Because obviously engineer can cover what you kind of...
Currently or in the past?
Any.
I suppose I class as a multi-skilled engineer. Mainly my qualifications are towards the electronic side, but I'm also a qualified oil heating engineer.
Cool.
So the oil heating side is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
But I'd say my background's electronic, with a bit of mechanical thrown in for good luck.
And whatever else you put your hands on.
Yeah,
I think that's a good combination, because that lets you do stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes you find kind of I've known a lot of engineers. Obviously being kind of physicists, you get a lot of. Only about 20% of physics teachers are actually physicists. So you get a significant portion of our engineers tend to be kind of all kind of related kind of sort of qualifications. So I've known quite a lot. And sometimes you get people that kind of they're engineers, but they're very specific to one thing, and they can't. They might be able to design something in a particular thing, but they can't actually make anything. Yeah, it's quite interesting sometimes. You find kind of engineers that kind of like, but you're an engineer. Why can't you make something? Because I was just like, I just designed stuff. Yeah, it's like
you've designed it.
Yeah, but you can't actually. Yeah, you can't actually make it. Yeah. But yeah, it's like yeah, you can't hold that against them. It's not necessarily their fault.
No.
So always makers. I think. I mean, that's kind of my kind of making history is kind of we were a making family, just again out of necessity because we couldn't afford to get stuff.
Or you couldn't find stuff to fit in the space that you'd got.
Yeah.
So you kind of got, okay, well, I need that to go in that space. But if I go and buy something or do it custom, I'm like, I might as well do it myself.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just sort of like, you know, it either falls apart within 5 minutes, because let's face it, IKEA is great for looking pretty as such, but actual practical uses when you've got young kids, nah. So it's kind
there are worse things. B&Q flat pack wardrobes. Very cheap. Yeah, not as strong as IKEA.
No, we don't actually own a wardrobe, do we?
No.
We don't own a wardrobe.
Suppose you've got a walk-in.
It's a cupboard. It's a cupboard.
You've got a walk-in wardrobe rather than a wardrobe.
Yeah, it's a cupboard.
A dressing room.
No, it's not that big.
No. I might be able to get in it, but I won't be able to get out of it. But yeah, it's
sort of 3 foot square attached to the bedroom.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a random square, really, isn't it? It's just like the bit that goes above the stairs. You kind of.
Oh yeah, we've got one of those. Yeah.
Like the ceiling bit that drops down. It's kind of our cupboard just goes over that bit.
And is the floor flat inside it, or is it kind of?
Yeah, it's flat.
Angled?
It's flat,
Yeah.
but it's kind of so it's just a random cupboard above the stairs. So.
Yeah, my eldest room's got what looks like a sort of built-in kind of wardrobe. Open up, and it's a full-size door.
Yeah.
But it kind of. Yeah, it is a full-size door. It's a full-size door. I was just thinking it was a bit shorter, but no, it's a full-size door. But at the bottom, you've got about this much space, kind of about 3 inches space at the bottom. And then kind of 6 inches up, you get about kind of
6
inches
space.
And then, every time you go up kind of sort of 6 inches, you get an extra kind of 6 inches, sort of 7 inches of space until about kind of 18 inches up, where then it's higher than the angled roof that goes above the sort of stair, and then it's just sort of straight up, full size, sort of roughly 3 by 3.
Weird.
Yeah, it's a really awkward space to do any work in.
What were people thinking when they built these things? You know what I mean? What use is that to anybody?
Well, for some respect, it's a wardrobe, so it is kind of handy that it's there, because otherwise there'd be this just really, really high and really difficult bit to decorate, kind of above the sort of stairs.
Yeah,
I mean, they're bad enough as it is. I mean, it's the worst part of the house to kind of try and decorate, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of extra space. So that's kind of I'll go with that. I mean, I'd much rather that than having to bash my head every time.
You do that, don't you? Bash your head on everything.
Probably being 6'5".
I was just going to say, when you're that sort of height. I mean, I'm only. Well, I used to be 5. I'm 5'7" now, so it's just like, I don't bash my head anywhere anymore.
Yeah.
I'm 6'4". I feel your pain, Phil. You've got an inch on me, but I feel your pain.
You're still up there.
I used to have a colleague. He was 6'6".
Wow.
Brilliant. Actually, an engineer. Brilliant physics teacher, though.
A designer or an engineer?
He was a mechie, and he could make stuff. Yeah, he could make stuff.
Right.
Yeah,
he's an engineer then.
He was probably mechie, but he plays around with electronics as well. But he could actually make stuff. But it was really interesting, kind of once you kind of sort of got to know him a little bit, and you kind of up the prep room we had, where we had our desks for marking and stuff. It'd be interesting. Kind of my desk was such that I could see anyone coming in, and I could look into there were 2 classrooms going off, and I could look into one of them, and it was interesting. Kind of the more I kind of sort of spotted that he just naturally ducked every time he walked through the door. Didn't even think about it.
No,
because particularly the time he got up, he was like, it was just completely just completely unconscious because he'd be sort of having a conversation or something as he's walking through the door. Yeah, and he's wearing shoes. So he's 6'6" in bare feet. So by the time he's got a pair of shoes on, he's nearly 6'7".
Yeah,
and he's literally just kind of just. It was fascinating to watch how he'd kind of just constantly just ducking his hair as he kind of moved up and down.
You do that, don't you? So
yeah. Although we had a strange one. We were in London last year, and for a show, and we're at the hotel after the evening time after the show,
the box room,
and there's there was a Norwegian guy in there, and he was having to duck around the light fittings in the hotel.
Yeah.
It must have been about 7'4", 7'5".
Yeah.
He was huge.
In the
nuts.
corridor in my parents' house, they used to have hanging lights that I always used to have to kind of chicane around as I walked down. And they took them out about a year ago and put like ones that are mounted on the roof. But I still, walking down that corridor, automatically kind of walk down it in an S. Because just for years it was, I've got to avoid these lights. But
yeah. I don't have that problem.
No, I don't. When I was into caving, I always made sure I went with somebody that was bigger than me as well. And on the way in, I'd be sure I was behind them.
Yeah, why not?
If they can fit through, I can fit through.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Although the problem is when you get somebody that's kind of like, there was a guy, never went caving with him. There was a guy who's kind of in one of the local caving clubs, he was in the cave rescue team. He was the epitome of a Tolkien dwarf. He was about 5'2", 5'3". A big black beard, very dark. It wasn't black, but very dark brown beard. Tended to carry his hair long, and he was rotund. He literally, his chest was a barrel, and it was. You kind of think, how the hell do you fit through a cave? Because you're short. You can see that if you're walking through, kind of, you don't have to duck. Yeah, there's plenty of caves where 5'8". When I was caving, I had to duck. But this guy, the stuff he didn't have to duck in, and it's like nearer to the ground. Short people, it's generally easier if you're nearer to the ground. But his chest was literally, looked like a beer barrel. If you saw it from the side, but he could just squash his chest down. He was just like, you go through stuff. I think there's a cave in South Wales called Ogof Darrenkilai. Ogof's Cave. Darrenkilai is sort of the name of the cave. And it's about 3,000 foot of cave to get up a tunnel to get to the first chamber. It's not called the main chamber, but it's the first chamber. So you have this tiny little crawl. I only ever did it once. It literally almost killed me. It's probably one of my closest near-death experiences coming out of that cave. And it took a stupid amount of time. He had at one point he had the record for the fastest exit from the cave. It was for an emergency because somebody about 8 hours in had dislocated their shoulder. That turned into a big rescue. That was kind of they were getting close to kind of let's blow the side of the mountain off to get her out type rescue. But he had he got out. It was an 8-hour trip from where she was, and he got out in something like 3 hours. And it's just like you're a dwarf. You are an underground. You are a Tolkien dwarf. But he could literally just. I mean, I'm not a big guy, but he could just swamp his chest down to get through. Yeah, it was just nuts. But
no, not a chance. Not going anywhere near that idea.
No. Donna's just the same thing. Yeah. Like no chance of going caving. No thanks.
No.
I used to work for the National Trust years ago, and we used to go exploring the caves in the Peak District at lunchtime. But there's only so many times you get stuck before you think, I'm not going in there again.
Yeah. I would have gone in the first place.
I must spend more time in the Peak District. I did my teacher training in Stafford, so obviously not far from the Peak District. I did go up. I helped out with DV training at the time, which was all done in the Peak District.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd spent more time there at the time, just on my own, doing sort of stuff in Peak District. I was so busy with kind of learning how to teach and writing essays and stuff. I didn't really get much chance or I didn't take the chance to do it. And I kind of wish I had, because it was such a lovely part of the world. Yeah, a lot of stone walls, though.
Been on our doorstep.
Yeah. A lot of stone walls, I noted. Everyone seems to have stone walls.
I can do that bit as well.
That's what you used to do with the National Trust, was the stone walls.
Yeah, I spent about 8 years with the National Trust as an instructor.
Yeah.
They used to have this thing where they used to take unemployed people on, and teach them skills. So I used to work on that for about 8 years. So every year you'd have a new batch of people in, and you'd have them for a year, and then they go off, and you get a new batch in.
Nice.
So
stuff like that. My father-in-law, stepfather-in-law, he used to do similar with. I'm trying to remember. There's another one, isn't there? Conservation, somebody or other. It was a similar sort of thing. It wasn't National Trust, but it was a similar sort of thing. People working, helping people that were kind of unemployed, kind of learn some skills that would then help them go on to something else. And it was all done kind of, fixing paths and walls and kind of, all kind of rural type things. I can't remember which organisation it was right now.
It'll come to you in a minute.
Yeah, it'll come to me once we finished having the sort of conversation.
3 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
So back to your question earlier, making, as you can see, we've always made and done. So.
And you made that workshop?
Yes.
we did.
And then you did you have 2 workshops? Because didn't you, or did you extend? Because I remember a few years ago.
Yes.
Both.
We had this half here was the first workshop, and then I set up business, and I was designing custom fabric, materials and stuff.
Yeah.
And I had that side as like the studio where
we built the second workshop for that business.
Yeah. So that
clean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then I sold that one, and we came together, didn't we, again? And sort of like we knocked both ends of the each workshop through, and then joined them together. So
yeah, we got tired of going out of one door,
especially in the winter.
You wanted the bandsaw. You got to go out that door, round the garden, and in another door. And it was only next door to you.
Which sounds like a sort of first world problem, but we actually live on farmland. So at the back we've got the cow field. Okay, so in the winter, what happens is that all the water runs off the cow field into our backyard, into the bit where in our yard bit, and you're basically in marsh. So you put your foot in that grass, you're going to sink in it if you ain't got your wellies on. So trying to trudge through with wood, sort of, and trying to cut it, and then coming back again when you've got more pieces and stuff. It was like, you know what, we don't want to do this anymore. We'll just knock it through. So we did. But it was just so much easier now.
I bet.
So much easier. So you were having to don your wellies every time you went out, especially in the winter. So that was just no. Either that or lose a shoe or two. You know what I mean? Stuck in the marsh and the grass eats your feet. It just wasn't nice.
Yeah. Yeah, we built this half of the workshop at the same time as we put the kitchen in, at the same time as we moved into the house.
That was a crazy week.
We did it all in a week.
It was a crazy week.
Oh my word!
Wow.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
No idea how we managed it.
Very stressful. Very stressful. We built the workshop, I had to. When we sort of came to the house, the kitchen was literally falling in. It was falling apart. So we had to literally just take it out. And as we were taking it out, the tiles were falling off the wall. The walls underneath needed replastering. So I mean, we're up here to sort of like midnight, 1 o'clock, and I'm plastering walls and stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. Just take me home. And it was just sort of like, it was just crazy. Absolutely crazy, wasn't it?
There's something to be said though for kind of having that, if you can manage it, to kind of have that intense, stupid amount of work in a stupidly short amount of time, and then it's done.
Yeah,
it's never done. It's a workshop.
Yeah.
Workshop's never done. Never done.
It's nearly 10 years since I did my kitchen. It's still not finished.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Okay, it's functional. Why do I need to go beyond
functional? That's our dining room.
That's our house, functional.
Yeah. Just define finish differently and you're all right. That's fine. Just, yeah.
Yeah.
The project manager in me going. Yeah.
So we were sorting through some paint under the stairs a few weeks ago. It was like, we found this can of red paint. I said, well, where's that paint come from? Yeah, that was going to be used to kind of for accents in the kitchen on the kind of we've got some wood strip kind of above the kind of window, and it was just like, oh yeah, we haven't opened that, have we? No, it's probably still all right.
Jamie says, do you stroke the cows or the cow pat? When it's marsh, you're stroking the cow pat. In the summer, you can actually just go and put your hands through the gate and you stroke the cows. Yeah, quite friendly, aren't they? So, yeah.
Anyone that follows you, particularly on Instagram or has watched you kind of on sort of Virtually Crafty, will know that you're particular kind of, I think you're particularly well known for pyrography,
burning stuff.
Well, putting it, yeah. So they've got the pyrography and the intarsia. I mean, did that come from a particular place? I mean, you said you don't have. I mean, I would say, Kez, you're very artistic. Is that entirely self-taught, or is that something that you've?
Yeah. I've always been naturally drawn to it. I've always had sort of like a pencil, a piece of paper, and doodles, and sort of drawing and trying different things. It's just kind of led from one thing to the other. I can't even tell you how I fell into wood burning. I really have no idea. I remember
you had a play with the soldering iron to do something, and I can't think what it was.
Yes, but I don't know why. It
was to finish something or other you were playing with.
But yeah. And I remember watching a video of Steve Ramsey. It's Steve Ramsey, isn't it?
Mere Mortals.
Yes. And he was showing how to transfer a design and stuff like that. But I'd already been looking at videos before I found him. But I really can't tell you why I fell into pyrography. It was just kind of one of those things. And I always wanted to be a tattoo artist when I was growing up. And I could tend to lean now more towards my art being like a tattoo art rather than sort of.
Following you, I can see how that would fit. Yeah.
So it's sort of, I've always sort of lent towards that being like the tattoo artist with wood, I suppose. But yeah, no, I really, it's kind of just one of those things that kind of just went, something sparked and my 5-second brain went, oh, let's have a look. And that's just how it goes. My brain kind of goes 5 seconds. And it's like, that's what we Dory the fish. You know what I mean?
But then you found something that you have spent a lot more than 5 seconds on.
Yes.
Yeah, but she still does exactly the same with the pyrography. She'll start a piece, walk away from it to do something completely different, and then come back to it.
Are we not all guilty of that one? I'm pretty sure there's at least 20 projects in my workshop that are all some stage of started. Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably about that of Kez's in here at the moment.
That's normal. That's fine.
Yeah, and it's sort of, but and I have a lovely Phil fairy that makes all my frames for all my artwork. All the frames come from him. But
I was saying to Andy earlier on, because I was looking at your Instagram and stuff and looking through some of them, the stag and owl piece, I was left going, I need that as a t-shirt.
Okay.
That design. I'm left going, you guys need some level of merch of some of those designs, because they're really nice.
We keep toying with the idea, and I keep drawing things out, right? Yeah. And then I put the design down, and
I've even got to the point of we've already got it set up with a print supplier and everything. I am waiting for somebody to sort the designs out.
You've got to do that. Because I was browsing through your website, and you've got the stag and the owl wall art is still available.
That one's ready to go on a t-shirt. I've got all sorts of different ones that are ready to go on t-shirts. It's just like, really?
Yeah, I would buy a t-shirt with that stag and owl. I'd love to. I would buy that. If I could, I can't justify. I think it's very much worth what I think it's a bargain, to be honest. What you're asking.
It's sold now. I just keep forgetting to pick up the website. It sold last week.
Too late.
Getting to pick it up.
Somebody's got a bargain. It's not a bargain I can afford. But one day I'd love to be able to say, I'm gonna have one of those, and get that piece of that one of your pieces of work on the kind of sort of the wall. Because that I think is just one of my favorite pieces of makery.
Was one of mine. One out of all the pieces that we've kept hold of for a while, that was one of my favorites.
Yeah,
it's so simple.
Then someone came and bought it last week.
Yeah, somebody turned up and went, "Have you still got that?" I was like, "Yeah." It's like, "Here, have some money." I was like, "If you're in it."
Nice. Yeah. Missed out on that. Yeah. But it's
we'll all queue up for the t-shirts.
I'll buy the
t-shirt. Yeah.
Well, as I say, everything's ready to go. Once she's finished all the designs, everything's ready to go.
Great.
Even integrated into the website, so I don't have to mess about with two shops.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Sounds great.
I've just got to
now, I think we could probably keep chatting for quite a long time, but I know that you guys, all three of you, need to get up earlier than I do in the morning, because I'm still summer holidays here, and I don't have to go to the gym or anything like that. So it's not an alarm morning tomorrow, particularly being bank holiday down here in England.
All right, so, rub it in.
Yeah. You've got to work then, Neil. Yeah, you've already had one.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So the next piece Kez makes is my favourite until she makes something else. Thanks, JP.
So towards the end, we tend to kind of move on to kind of things that have been grabbing our attention, which for those who haven't heard before, because I'm sure everyone actually really knows, because those that listen, we've got good kind of bunch of listeners who've kind of been listening sort of fervently. But it can be anything, whether it's videos, projects you've just done, projects you've got coming up, something you've watched on TV, a book you've read. Doesn't really matter. It can be more than one thing. It can be just one thing if you like. But it's like what's been grabbing your attention?
Every 5 seconds, I think of something.
So ADHD,
yeah, that's the one.
I think it's quite. I think it's. I've said this before, and I'll no doubt say it again. And at some point we will be talking about this with some other people. I would actually love to see somebody do some proper research into the maker movement. However that's defined, because there's different ways of defining the maker movement, but consider the sort of the wider maker movement, particularly people who identify more as makers rather than perhaps identifying as one particular thing. So people who just wood turners, or the people who are just kind of woodworkers or furniture makers or welders. But I think particularly those people who perhaps are very diverse in their nature of making. I'd love to see somebody do some research into it, maker movement, and neurodiversity, particularly looking at ADHD. And I think there would be a really strong connection.
Yeah, I think there definitely is. And there is one maker that we've spoken to recently, Di, and we were sat having a conversation, and we were sort of we were sort of like talking to each other, and it's kind of like all of a sudden I was like what were we talking about? I was like, I
yes,
can't remember.
but when they both do it at exactly the same time,
we were terrible.
Then half an hour later, resume the conversation as if they have never finished it.
Because he was talking about water things, and he was talking about fridges and stuff like that. And he was like, "What was I saying?" I was like, "I can't remember." And then this was like half an hour later, I was like, "Fridges!" And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Fridges! We were talking about fridges." And he was like, "Oh yeah!" And they just carried on. But he was just laughing. He was laughing like, "Oh."
I shouldn't be laughing because that's just too relatable.
It was so funny though.
Squirrel.
Yeah, that was it. So yeah, anything that's got my interest.
Yes. What's your
anything and possibly nothing? That's all I can say.
Phil, what's been grabbing your attention? Yeah.
Making models.
Ooh, any particular sort?
Can't diverge too much about it because it's a sponsored one and it's not out until later in the year.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's about 0.5 meter tall.
Ooh.
So it's a diorama, but it's going to be wood, not the normal sort of foam diorama.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
So it's going to be made out of different woods. So like it's like intarsia, isn't it? Because it's all the wood. It's not colouring anything. Everything will be the wood colour, but it's all different coloured woods.
Sounds cool. So would this be for Dremel?
Yeah,
it would.
Yeah.
Well, we can name them. Yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe that's answer us.
Yeah,
because I'll have to tag them now, of course, in because
absolutely.
show notes. So we might get a sponsorship for Baker's Waffle one, even for Dremel. We can hope. That's cool. I mean, you've done some fantastic work for them. I think Dremel have been very good at picking people to work with.
Yes,
I don't know the full extent of who they've picked, but certainly, I mean, the few that I know, I think they've done a good job.
I think there's about 19 or 20 of us now.
Yeah,
I certainly don't know all 19 or 20. I was thinking about 3 or 4, but
yeah.
We're a very diverse bunch.
Yes, definitely. And we're called the Misfit Makers. That's what they call it, Dremel's Misfit Makers. And we are definitely a bunch of misfits, aren't we? Absolute bunch of misfits.
Yeah, we've got a bit of everything. We've got everything from jewellery artists, wood turners,
welders,
photography artists, welders.
To wood turners?
Yeah.
Did you just say that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did that one. Yeah, carvers also. So we've got quite a diverse community.
Yeah.
Oh, cosplay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's good. Obviously, as a tool. Dremel has become the generic name for rotary tools in the way that Hoover has for vacuum cleaners and Kleenex for tissues. So I think it's that kind of people will talk about their Dremel, but even when it's a Parkside special or some other makes, I mean they've become that kind of iconic manufacturer for.
It's their 90th birthday this year.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yes, their 90th.
Wow, I mean, I've known they've been going for a while, but I didn't know they'd been going that long.
Yeah, 90th birthday. And there is a video parody of us Misfits that is coming out, so keep an eye out for that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
A birthday parody.
Neil, what's been grabbing your attention?
This is going to seem really random because it's not a topic we've touched on at all in this. But anyway, I've been working on a snare drum that I started building a while back. Kind of diving back into that. So kind of diving back into music a bit more, which is something I used to do loads of. and then life. So music was
Yeah,
kind of
that's what
something that but through doing the snare drum and thinking more about music and how it's kind of part of my happy place, started going back to some of the bands that I used to work with, some of the smaller ones, like not the big name ones, but these little bands that were kind of, doing it in their spare time kind of bands, and finding that through the joy of things like Spotify and everything, actually a load of that music's still available that came out 10, 12 years ago and whatever. And one of the artists I used to work with, a girl named Vanessa Ferrero, is still producing music, putting stuff out there, but she's actually moved to Colombia and she is building her own house on a hill in Colombia, and it's the most incredible build. So I've been spending a lot of time listening to all of her back catalogue and wishing I owned a plot of land in Colombia and could build a house on the hill.
Yeah,
it looks pretty awesome. So Vanessa Ferrero. And then the other person I was going to mention is, in terms of the drums, there's a YouTube channel called Murray Drums. It's a guy who lives pretty local to me here, who makes custom snare drums. But he's got some really good old videos on how to make all the jigs for turning the outer and the inner and the bearings, and how he does everything. He's making some really unique stuff, but he's sharing everything about how he's doing it, which is really cool. So as a channel, I've been kind of diving into that a fair bit and watching all of that again, which I haven't watched for a few years. So yeah, Murray Drums and Vanessa Ferrero.
Yeah.
What about you, Andy?
I'm not sure Colombia would be my first choice of somewhere to build a house, but
it's a family thing. Her mum grew up in Colombia, and she's got family over there and everything. So
right, makes a bit more sense because it's not the most stable of countries.
No, but she seems fine. So hey, good. She's happy.
Good, I'm glad.
Yeah. What about you, Andy?
Well, me, I mentioned last week or the week before, Pimaromi, their sale, which ends on the 31st. I may have accidentally made a second order from them.
Who's that?
For some bits. Pimaroni, Pirates, Monkeys, Robot Ninjas.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, electronics company.
Okay.
Yeah, it's up there. Yeah, Raspberry Pis and the like, and Arduinos, electronics.
Yeah, we've got the Arduinos in the house.
It's electronics based up in Sheffield, so not so far from you.
Not far from us, yeah.
Really good bunch of people. It's their 10th anniversary, so they're having a big sale. Lots of stuff reduced, kind of like 50%. No Raspberry Pis, unfortunately, not reduced, and partly because you can't get them. You get the Picos are still available, some of them.
Yeah.
But there's no Zeros available, and there's no actual Pis available unless you want a Pi 4000 or 400, the cased one with I think you can get a Spanish keyboard version, but you can't get the UK keyboard version. I'm presuming it's just the keyboard that's the difference, because the inside should be just the same. So there's that. I've been watching quite a lot of TV this week. So I mentioned before Blown Away. Finished that, including the Christmas one. That's on Netflix. Really enjoyed that. Then went on to Metal Shop Masters, which is only one season. That was good, although I think the person who should have won didn't, but that was partly because he didn't actually manage his last task as well as perhaps he could have done. And now I've moved on to pressure, isn't it? Well, yeah, he suddenly went from doing stuff either with one of the other contestants, because he did some of the stuff in pairs, but then suddenly be given two assistants, and he's not used to working with assistants, and they didn't quite grasp it. Yeah. I think sometimes you see in these shows where they kind of, right, it's the final, so you're going to get some help because you've got to do this big thing, and you haven't got quite enough time, and it's going to be spectacular, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes they'll kind of go, so you can choose from some of the previous contestants. They're going to help you. And I think then you've got people who you've got skills. Or I'm Blown Away for the final, they were giving them assistants who were people working at the Cornell Museum of Glass, which is one of the most prestigious glass places in the world. And they were giving them people who were like 20, 25-year experience, people super experienced in kind of all the aspects of glass, and not just somebody who kind of been doing it for a few years. Yeah, these were people that doing it every day, had been doing it every day for 20 odd years. They really knew their stuff. They were people that were selected to be able to work with other people. They were used to working with assistants. And so they kind of had good quality people. They were used to it. So it was natural. This guy was used to working on his own. He was suddenly given two people who perhaps weren't necessarily the best possible people. They were probably good enough, but they needed managing rather than kind of just being told, right, do this, and then they would do it. So
sometimes it's harder to manage somebody like that than it is to just do it yourself.
Yes, and that's what it turned into. And he couldn't do enough in his own on his own.
Yeah,
and that's why he then lost it. And I've just started now. I'm on to Rust to Riches, which is sort of cars.
How far into it are you before I say anything that spoilers it?
Second or third episode.
Okay, I won't say anything.
Yeah, second or third episode. But
it's very interesting by the third season.
Right, still on first season. But I'm going to get my youngest. Today we went to, there was the local aerodrome. There's an aerodrome not far from us. There was an emergency services show, and she's going to be doing uniform public services BTEC. So kind of, well, this is homework. We can go to the show because it's homework, summer homework. It was a bit disappointing. There were a lot of fire engines and not much else. And we kind of wandered in. We paid our 10 quid each to get in. I was like, oh God, this is awful. There was just like one row of fire engines, and the displays there wasn't much anything happening on the display area, and it was just like, oh dear. And then we spotted this crowd of people at the far end of this. There was it wasn't a big field. It was a field. It was kind of alongside the airstrip. And it was like, I could see as soon as we walked around the corner from the entrance, there was like, there's not much here. But as we walked in a little bit, we could see there was this quite large group of people at one end. We thought, oh, maybe they're watching something. There's something happening there. So we wandered down. There wasn't much happening as we wandered down. Just walked past like 15, 20 fire engines of various different vintages. And then we realized that beyond this kind of space that we can see past, there were about 150 vintage and classic cars. And it was like, ooh. So we spent about an hour walking around. It was like, yeah, this is good. Then we kind of went back and like, should we go back and have a look at the cars? Yeah, we went back.
Yeah.
So we were geeking out on cars, and she was geeking out on cars. It was like,
cool.
Ooh, I knew she was into vintage stuff, but I didn't realize she was into vintage cars.
Back to get expensive.
There was like,
yeah,
but this was like, oh, it's like, what's your favorite car? Ooh, on the side. It's like we had this great couple of hours just kind of geeking out on vintage cars, all sorts. Some classic ones. I mean, yeah, that's stuff that it's like stuff I learned to drive on, like Mark II Cortina, and other.
Are you showing your age?
Yeah. Well, most of my learning, I had a few cars to learn on. So there was Cortina, there was an MG Metro. Don't see many of those around anymore. I think I passed my test in a Corsa. I think it was a Corsa. It was something small. Actually, it might have been
small.
Yeah, it was something small. It might have been a Corsa, but yeah. So yeah, showing my age. But it was just an enjoyable kind of thing. So I think I might try and see if she wants to watch that. But we still have to watch all the rest of the classic Doctor Who's together first. So I might not wait. That's been grabbing my attention. So just a few things.
Yeah.
So yeah. And for anyone who's wondering, Jamie did mention last time, Jamie's at a festival. Big family festival, having a whale of a time, doing festival type stuff, which I'm sure he'll tell us about next week. So Neil very gracefully agreed to sort of step in and be the budget Jamie impersonator. Yeah.
Yeah. The beard wasn't quite there, but I tried my hardest.
Well, you got the top bit.
Yeah,
almost
top
right.
half's right. It's just
need
another year or so on this. But
well, there's a challenge because he'll probably want to go to the same festival next year. So you got a year to work on it.
Game on, right?
Right. Well, I think at that point, I think we should we've taken you past your bedtime, you folks. So I think we'll say good night to everyone, and we'll see everyone next week. So, bye, folks.
Bye all.